one thing that I've realized with these that is always a plus is the fact that the ink goes all the way through, right? So as you've seen, I keep going and the ink goes all the way from the start to the finish, and it's the exact same. So that's really nice. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Is It Worth It, where I go around the world and the internet looking for supplies that'll help you in your artistic career, or just make it so that you enjoy the process this much more. Now today we're going to go back to markers, and we're going to be looking at the Kingart twin tip brush pens. I'm actually kind of excited about this because I've heard about Kingart and they have a ton of products to check out. So I'm very, very excited about looking at these brush pens, because who knows, we might find another maker or person that makes art supplies that we all can go to and support. So come on, let's go check it out and see if they're actually worth it. All right, so as you can see, this 24 pack is in a nice secure box. It's kind of cool, right? It shows you all the colors that you can get. I like the fact that it actually says Pro on it, right? So it's the Kingart Pro set. So this is definitely something that we need to look into, because if these are really pro, then they should have some really good quality behind it. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what these are going to be like. It says 24 rich colors, color-coded caps, brush and fine tips, superior blendability. And then they're water-based, and we all know how we feel about water-based pens. But we're going to try these out. Creative, versatile, vibrant, and durable. Best described Kingart twin tip brush pens. So we're going to check these out, because we might have to get some watercolor paper based on the fact that it says that it's water-based. Right? Now, when you have something like this and it is such a secure box, it's really tight, right? It's a really, really tight fit. But then as you come in, right, they have their own, there you go, have their own carrying cases, which is nice. Okay, they do look very vibrant. I like the caps already, so I'm really interested to see if the cap matches the actual color, because that's always a nice perk. But all right, so let's just take one of these. Okay, the plastic actually doesn't feel super plasticky, which is always nice. Not only are the caps different so that you can tell that this one is the brush and this one is the actual nib, they're also labeled, right? So you got the brush and the bullet point, so you'll always kind of know. And it even tells you what color it is. It's like bright green, right? So it even tells you. And then this one has light green, so it's actually pretty cool that you might actually be able to blend them together, especially since that's something they said that they do. The brush is actually very firm, but it doesn't feel very wet. So it's going to be interesting to see just how much ink comes out. But it is a very firm brush, so I don't even know if it'll have some flexibility. It's going to be interesting to see. And then the bullet is just a regular bullet tip, so nothing special there. I don't necessarily like this mini cap thing. I think just, pulling it off, I'm going to lose it. But it does have a nice snap, right? So that's good. Love the snap. It's got a very secure snap to it, right? This one's not as loud, but it's still, as you can see when I'm trying to pull it off, right? The tension that's there is also really nice. And let's see if they post. Okay, so that worked. What about this side? And that worked. All right, great. So at least the markers post, so that's always good. All right, so let's see. Let's move this over here. And we might as well just go ahead and start with this green, because we already had it. Ooh. That actually is surprisingly really nice. And it's still very flexible, right? it's not giving you the super big lines. I mean, it gives you, this brush seems to be way more concentrated on giving you nice, fine, smaller lines. It still can get a little bit thicker, but I think that these are really meant for nice, detailed lines, which is nice. But let's see if we pull it from the side. So you can, right? You can pull it from the side and it'll work just fine. I wonder just how much you can put down before you start tearing up. No, not very much. Okay, so you can't you can't put it down a lot because it is a water-based brush pen, so it will destroy your paper. But the flow, at least, I mean, there's some nice flow. You can get some nice variation, so that's really nice. Like, the brush is nice, and then the bullet tip, you can't really complain. Can't really complain about that, to be honest. So, and it writes really fast. And one thing that I've realized with these that is always a plus is the fact that the ink goes all the way through, right? So as you've seen, I keep going and the ink goes all the way from the start to the finish, and it's the exact same. So that's really nice. So if you're looking for like bullet journaling or calligraphy or writing, these are really nice. They're really, really nice. And the color was great. We're gonna try this blue. So it's pretty close. See? I mean, the cap is really, really close to what you're actually going to be getting. So, I mean, I have to say, these it's really nice. And these colors, they just go right. So, not complaining. Okay, let's see what the darker color would look like. I'm gonna use this brown. Nope, that is, I mean, to be honest, it's probably the closest I've ever seen cap to ink. So that's really nice. And of course, you know, you still have the brush, still the same, gives you these nice thin lines that you can use. You can make them bigger. And you can go over it about 2 or 3 times before it actually starts tearing up. Well, actually, it seems, okay. So it seems that if you kind of just layer it like so, it doesn't actually tear up your paper. It's only when you go around in a circle. Well, even that one didn't. I wonder if it's just because it was this light blue. Let's see. Or light green, I mean. Nope. It definitely seems as if you just layer it. You just layer it, you can actually get a lot down. Still a little bit. Yeah. The more you go over it, right, the more it's just gonna kind of tear up. I mean, that's understandable with a water-based medium, but look at these colors though. Look at how vibrant those are. Those are some really nice colors. Right? And the flow, I cannot express how easy and how nice the flow of these brush pens are. These are really nice, and they're strong colors too. You know, like this red is nice. It's nice, a little more magenta, but look at that. It's a really nice, these are really, really nice pens. The biggest thing is that they're so good with getting the ink all the way. See, that one's not the same color. The hot pink, well, you know. Well, maybe when it dries, but I mean, that's probably the first color that's not necessarily the right color as the cap. But all in all, now I have to tell you that some of the brushes are a lot firmer than the others. So you got to keep that in mind. Like, you can get, all of them allow you to get really thin lines, but some of them allow you to get really thin lines. And that's because the brush is actually a lot stiffer than the rest. Now that might, more than likely, is going to change. So the stiffer ones will get a little bit more, flexible as time goes on. So there's that. Let's see real quick if I, you know what? Didn't anticipate. Just a second, let's grab us some watercolor. Some watercolor paper. Let's see how they work, because they say they're super blendable, and I would like to at least give them the opportunity to shine. And you can instantly tell when you start working with a multimedia paper just how much they work with each other, right? Just come back in and I don't know so much about the super blendability of them, right? Like, but it does add some color, but they don't, I'm not saying that they blend. Oh, that is really dark. All right, there's some nice colors that are in between, but as you can see, they're not necessarily blending per se. So, but I mean, they work way better on a multimedia paper or watercolor paper, right? They work way better. But see, they don't, like I said, they don't necessarily what I would call blend with each other. Maybe it's just because they're different, right? The distance between the two are too great. So we'll take this. I mean, you can see, there you go. You got to start using a different type. But see, it starts eating up the paper. After a while, it just keeps eating up the paper. So I think that if you were to have the multi-pack where they have more and more of them, you can actually get something good to go, right? But it just seems as though because it's just too far apart, that it's not blending. Checking to see if I had a water brush real quick. Still some water in here. All right, so a little bit of water. There we go. Trying to see if we can manipulate. Oh, you can, see? So you can even, with the proper watercolor, then you can blend it. Right? So you can come in and use these markers, right? And you can blend it in. So that's nice. But I think that's really with all water-based medium, is that you can come in and manipulate it, even though it's not meant to be considered watercolor. Right, because it's not. These are not watercolors. All I'm doing is rehydrating the ink. So it's not necessarily meant for that. But, you could come in and do some interesting stuff with these. I think these have a lot of, ability to be applicable. You should be able to use this application. You could use watercolor. You could use these markers on top of watercolors. And then you can still come in and manipulate it just a little bit, right? Because they're not, once again, not meant to be watercolor, but you can still do something with it.
right? And something that I've noticed though, unlike watercolor markers and brushes, that if you move the ink with water, like on a water brush, with this, it stays on the brush a lot longer than with watercolor. So, something to keep in mind. Very versatile. You can manipulate it later over watercolor or multimedia paper, and the colors are super vibrant. Works really nicely with regular paper for just calligraphy or something like that. So these were really good.
All right, so we just got done reviewing the Kingart twin tip brush pens, and I have to say I was pleasantly surprised at how vibrant these colors were and how they flowed like no one's business. I mean, from start to finish, there was just a nice even flow. It was absolutely fantastic. Colors were great. The bullet was actually really good. And you know what? The price on these is very, very cheap. So yes, go out and get these brush pens. They're great. Now the thing that you got to keep in mind is that they are water-based, so they will eat through your paper if you start going over things again and again and again and again. Now, if you are using watercolor paper or multimedia paper, then it is more resilient to that, but you do have to keep in mind that it is a water-based brush pen, and therefore it will start tearing up your paper after a while. Now, these are not watercolor brush pens because they don't blend as well, but you can manipulate them with water if you're using like watercolor paper or multicolor or multimedia paper. So it's also something to keep in mind. So you can do multiple things with these, and that is definitely what makes these worth it. Well, that wraps up today's episode. I hope that you learned something or that you found another art supply that you need to add to your arsenal. I want to say thank you so very much for all your support and for watching this video. If you are new to the channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the bell notification so you are updated every single time that we post a new video. Also, if there is some type of art supply that you would like me to review, please go ahead and drop it in the comments below and I will make sure to add it to the list. Thank you guys so very much, and I will see you at the next episode.